Welcome to the definitive guide on why Sigma males represent the most intriguing archetype in today's social hierarchy. I'm here to take you deep into the psychology of men who don't seek validation, and why that makes them both powerful and potentially dangerous in our validation-obsessed culture. If you've ever wondered why certain men seem to navigate life with an effortless independence that others find both magnetic and unsettling, you're about to discover the core principles that drive the Sigma mindset. This isn't just another video about social dynamics. It's a comprehensive breakdown of a psychological framework that's reshaping how we understand masculine power. Before we dive in, I need to ask, are you tired of content that scratches the surface without delivering real insights? If you value depth over hype and genuine understanding over trendy buzzwords, hit that subscribe button now. This channel is dedicated to uncovering the authentic strategies that Sigma males use to command respect without demanding it. And today's video is just the beginning of what we'll explore together. Strategic solitude. The foundation of the Sigma male's power begins with his deliberate approach to solitude. Unlike the alpha who thrives in social spotlight or the beta who fears isolation, the Sigma man cultivates strategic solitude as his primary source of strength. This isn't about being antisocial, it's about selective social engagement. When a Sigma male chooses solitude, he's not retreating from society, he's investing in himself. Think of it as a power move disguised as a passive choice. While others constantly seek connection, the Sigma understands that high-quality thinking requires low-interference environments. Consider how technology entrepreneurs like Elon Musk describe their creative process, periods of intense isolation where breakthrough thinking happens. This is the Sigma advantage at work. By removing himself from the constant social feedback loop, he develops ideas, perspectives, and approaches that couldn't emerge in group settings. The psychological benefit is twofold. First, he trains his mind to function optimally without external stimulation. Second, he becomes comfortable with a state that most men find unbearable. This creates a distinct competitive advantage in negotiations, relationships, and career advancement. When you encounter a man who seems perfectly at ease being alone in social situations, not anxiously checking his phone or desperately seeking conversation, you're likely observing a Sigma male in his natural state. His comfort with strategic solitude means he's never desperate for company, which paradoxically makes his company more valuable. The dangerous element here is that Sigma males develop thought patterns independent of social consensus. While most people unconsciously align their thinking with group norms, the Sigma's ideas evolve in isolation, making them unpredictable and often challenging to mainstream perspectives. Strategic solitude isn't just a personality trait. It's a deliberate practice that builds psychological resilience and intellectual independence. The Sigma male doesn't just accept solitude, he weaponizes it. Self-validation over external approval. The cornerstone of the Sigma male's psychological framework is his ability to self-validate rather than seeking external approval. This isn't mere confidence, it's a fundamental rewiring of how he processes social feedback. Most men exist in a constant state of seeking validation, from bosses, romantic partners, peers, and even strangers on social media. This creates a psychological dependency that the Sigma male has systematically eliminated from his operating system. When validation becomes unnecessary, the power dynamic in every interaction shifts dramatically. Consider how this manifests in professional settings. While others anxiously await praise after completing tasks, the Sigma male evaluates his own performance against internal standards. He doesn't need a manager's approval to know his work is exceptional. He's already conducted a more rigorous assessment than anyone else could provide. This self-referential framework extends to all areas of life. In relationships, he doesn't measure his worth by his partner's approval. In social settings, he doesn't adjust his opinions to match the group consensus. In personal development, he tracks progress against his previous self, not external benchmarks. The psychological mechanics behind this are fascinating. The Sigma male has essentially short-circuited the dopamine reward pathway that makes external validation addictive. While others experience a neurochemical high from likes, compliments, and recognition, he's rewired his reward system to respond to internal achievements invisible to others. This creates an unsettling dynamic for those interacting with him. When traditional validation tools, praise, recognition, approval, fail to influence his behavior, it removes leverage that most people unconsciously rely on. The dangerous element here is that he becomes immune to manipulation tactics that work on 99% of the population. A practical example: when a colleague attempts to use subtle flattery to gain favor, the Sigma male recognizes the tactic without responding to it emotionally. This awareness without vulnerability makes him simultaneously more perceptive and less controllable. Self-validation isn't about arrogance. It's about accurate self-assessment independent of external consensus. The Sigma male doesn't think he's perfect. He simply doesn't outsource the evaluation of his worth to others. Silent power dynamics. The Sigma male's approach to power represents a paradigm shift from conventional masculine frameworks. While the alpha seeks to dominate through visible displays of authority, the Sigma exerts influence through silent power dynamics that operate beneath social awareness. This silent power begins with his strategic use of non-reaction. When others escalate emotionally, make demands, or attempt dominance displays, the Sigma remains unnervingly calm. This isn't passive. It's a deliberate power move that disrupts expected social scripts and creates a vacuum that others feel compelled to fill. Consider how this manifests in conflict situations. When someone raises their voice, most men either match the escalation or visibly submit. The Sigma does neither. He maintains consistent energy regardless of the emotional temperature around him. This controlled response creates a gravitational pull where others begin unconsciously adjusting to his emotional baseline rather than the reverse. The psychological mechanism at work is fascinating. By refusing to participate in emotional escalation cycles, he forces others to expend energy while conserving his own. In game theory terms, he's optimized his strategy to require minimal input while extracting maximum leverage. In professional environments, the Sigma male rarely announces his accomplishments or fights for recognition. Instead, he focuses on high-impact contributions that speak for themselves. When he does speak in meetings, the contrast with his usual selective communication gives his words disproportionate weight. The dangerous element of this silent power is its invisibility to conventional status metrics. While organizations track titles, compensation, and reporting structures, the Sigma's influence operates through informal channels that circumvent official hierarchies. He becomes the person others consult privately before decisions are made, creating a shadow influence network. A practical example: during team conflicts, notice how certain men never raise their voices, yet somehow their perspective prevails in the final decision. This isn't coincidence, it's silent power dynamics at work. The Sigma male understands that volume and frequency of communication often inversely correlate with actual influence. This approach extends beyond professional contexts. In social groups, the Sigma rarely competes for attention, yet often becomes the object of curiosity. In romantic contexts, his selective engagement creates a magnetic pull precisely because he's not actively generating it. Silent power isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding that true influence doesn't require announcement. The independent mindset. The Sigma male's most distinctive psychological characteristic is his independent mindset, a cognitive framework that enables decision-making, untethered from social consensus. This goes beyond mere nonconformity. It's a systematic approach to evaluating information without social contamination. While most people unconsciously align their thinking with their social group, the Sigma male has developed mental firewalls that filter out consensus-based biases. This isn't about being contrarian. He doesn't automatically reject mainstream views. Rather, he processes information through first principles rather than social proof. The psychological mechanics behind this independent thinking are worth examining. The Sigma has recognized that humans evolved in tribal environments where cognitive alignment with the group was more important for survival than objective accuracy. He's consciously overriding this evolutionary programming to prioritize reality over social harmony. Consider how this manifests in information consumption. While others automatically give credibility to widely shared beliefs, the Sigma evaluates ideas based on internal coherence and evidential support regardless of popularity. He's equally skeptical of mainstream narratives and fringe conspiracies, applying the same analytical rigor to both. In professional contexts, this independent mindset becomes a strategic advantage. When groupthink dominates decision-making processes, the Sigma male often identifies blind spots and opportunities invisible to consensus-bound thinking. This makes him particularly valuable in environments requiring innovation or risk assessment. The dangerous element here is that independent thinking makes him unpredictable. When others can't anticipate his position based on group affiliations or previous patterns, it creates discomfort in those who rely on social prediction for security. His thinking exists outside the matrix of social categorization. A practical example: during the early stages of market disruptions or paradigm shifts, the Sigma male often positions himself advantageously, while others remain paralyzed by conventional wisdom. This isn't due to special knowledge, it's his ability to evaluate information without social filtering that creates the advantage. This independent mindset extends to personal values and life choices. The Sigma doesn't automatically adopt the success metrics of his social environment. He might prioritize freedom over status, growth over stability, or meaning over material accumulation, not from rebellion, but from personalized analysis of what constitutes value. The independent mindset isn't about intellectual superiority, it's about removing social contamination from the thinking process. Emotional self-sufficiency. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of the Sigma male is his emotional self-sufficiency. Contrary to stereotypes about emotionally unavailable men, the Sigma doesn't lack emotional depth. He's developed an internal emotional ecosystem that doesn't require constant external nourishment. This emotional self-sufficiency begins with his relationship to discomfort. While most men avoid psychological discomfort at all costs, the Sigma has systematically desensitized himself to emotional pain, uncertainty, and social tension. This isn't stoicism as performance. It's a genuine recalibration of his emotional response system. The psychological framework underlying this is fascinating. The Sigma male has recognized that emotional dependency creates vulnerability to manipulation. By developing internal emotional regulation, he removes leverage points that others unconsciously use in social dynamics. Consider how this manifests in relationship contexts. While many men require constant reassurance and validation from partners, The sigma maintains emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean he's unaffected by others. It means he's not emotionally dependent on them. In professional environments, emotional self-sufficiency translates to remarkable resilience. When projects fail, criticism arrives or uncertainty looms. He processes these challenges without the emotional volatility that compromises decision-making. This creates a competitive advantage in high-pressure situations where others become reactive. The dangerous element here is that emotional self-sufficiency makes the sigma unresponsive to tactics that work on emotionally dependent individuals. Social pressure, guilt induction, and approval withdrawal, tools that effectively influence most people, simply don't register as threats in his internal value system. A practical example: when faced with social rejection or exclusion, most men experience genuine psychological pain and modify their behavior to regain acceptance. The sigma experiences these situations as data rather than damage, allowing him to make decisions uncontaminated by the fear of rejection. This doesn't mean he lacks emotional intelligence or empathy. In fact, his emotional self-sufficiency often creates space for more accurate empathy because his perceptions aren't clouded by personal emotional needs. He can truly listen without simultaneously calculating how to get his own emotional needs met in the interaction. Emotional self-sufficiency isn't about suppression. It's about developing internal emotional resources that create genuine independence. Calculated social interactions. The sigma male approaches social interaction with a level of strategic intention that most people find both fascinating and unsettling. Unlike the social butterfly who seeks maximum engagement or the introvert who avoids interaction, the sigma engages selectively based on a cost-benefit analysis invisible to others. This calculated approach begins with his unusual relationship to social energy. He views social interaction as an investment with specific returns rather than a need to be fulfilled. Each engagement is evaluated not just for immediate pleasure, but for long-term value alignment with his objectives. The psychological mechanism at work is his recognition that attention is finite and non-renewable. While others disperse their social energy across numerous low-value interactions, the sigma concentrates his resources on high-leverage relationships and situations that compound over time. Consider how this manifests in networking contexts. While others collect maximum connections, the sigma focuses on depth over breadth. His network might be smaller, but consists of relationships characterized by mutual respect and genuine value exchange rather than superficial association. In group settings, his calculated approach creates an interesting dynamic. He doesn't compete for attention or speaking time, instead observing interaction patterns and contributing only when he has something substantive to add. This selective communication gives his input disproportionate weight when he does engage. Dangerous element here is that his social calculations create unpredictability. When others can't reliably predict his level of engagement, it disrupts the unconscious social contracts that most interactions operate on. People become aware they're being evaluated by criteria they don't fully understand. A practical example: in professional contexts, notice how certain men seem to materialize for pivotal conversations and key decisions while being absent from routine interactions. This isn't random. It's calculated social engagement designed to maximize impact while minimizing energy expenditure. This calculated approach extends to digital communication as well. While others feel compelled to maintain constant presence across multiple platforms, the sigma engages selectively and often maintains deliberate periods of inaccessibility. This creates an asymmetry where he can reach others while remaining selectively unreachable himself. Calculated social interaction isn't about manipulation. It's about treating attention as the valuable resource it is and allocating it intentionally rather than reactively. The danger of unreadable men. What makes the Sigma male particularly dangerous in social dynamics is his unreadability. In a society where predictability equals controllability, a man whose next move can't be anticipated represents a variable that systems can't easily process. This unreadability begins with his non-reactive presence. While most men provide continuous feedback through micro-expressions, body language shifts and verbal cues, the Sigma maintains a consistent baseline that reveals little about his internal state. This isn't about suppression, it's about selective transparency. The psychological mechanics behind this are worth examining. The Sigma has recognized that legibility equals vulnerability in many contexts. By controlling information asymmetry, knowing others while remaining unknown himself, he maintains a strategic advantage in negotiations, conflicts, and competitive environments. Consider how this manifests in high-stakes situations. When pressure mounts and others telegraph stress, enthusiasm, or concern, the Sigma maintains behavioral consistency that reveals nothing about his position strength. This creates a projection screen where others impose their own assumptions, often to their disadvantage. In professional settings, this unreadability often translates to career advancement that seems to happen through unexpected channels. While others advertise their ambitions and strategies, the Sigma's pathway remains obscure until he's already secured the position or opportunity. The dangerous element here is that unreadable men disrupt social calibration. Human interaction depends on continuous feedback loops where people adjust behavior based on others' responses. When someone doesn't provide these signals, it creates discomfort that others often misinterpret as hostility or arrogance rather than strategic opacity. A practical example. During negotiations, notice how certain men maintain identical demeanor, regardless of whether offers are favorable or unfavorable. This isn't lack of emotion, it's strategic unreadability that prevents counterparties from gauging their true walkaway point. This unreadability extends beyond professional contexts. In dating scenarios, the Sigma doesn't reveal his hand through pursuing behaviors that women have learned to expect. This creates an intriguing dynamic where his interest remains ambiguous, often generating attraction precisely because of this uncertainty. Unreadability isn't about deception, it's about controlling information flow to maintain strategic positioning, building inner authority. The foundation of the Sigma male's framework is his development of inner authority, a self-referential system of values, standards, and decision-making that operates independently of external validation structures. This inner authority represents the most sophisticated psychological achievement of the Sigma archetype. Unlike external authority, which derives power from social position, credentials, or group recognition, inner authority emerges from consistent alignment between values and actions. The Sigma has systematically eliminated the gap between what he believes and how he lives, creating internal congruence that generates natural confidence. The psychological mechanism underlying this is his recognition that external authority systems are ultimately arbitrary, constructed by specific groups for specific purposes, while inner authority emerges from lived experience and empirical testing against reality. One is socially constructed, the other is existentially earned. Consider how this manifests in moral decision-making, while others navigate ethical questions by consulting external frameworks, religious teachings, cultural norms, or peer consensus. The Sigma evaluates situations through principles he's personally verified through experience. This creates moral consistency unaffected by social pressure. In professional environments, inner authority translates to a distinctive leadership style. The Sigma doesn't lead through formal authority or charismatic appeal, but through demonstrated competence and unwavering consistency. His leadership emerges organically rather than being claimed or assigned. The dangerous element here is that inner authority makes him resistant to control mechanisms that rely on external validation. Social approval, status conferral, and group acceptance, tools that effectively influence most men, fail to impact his decision-making when they conflict with his internal value system. A practical example: when organizational cultures turn toxic or unethical, notice how certain men maintain behavioral integrity while others compromise to preserve their position. This isn't just moral courage, it's the operation of inner authority that prioritizes internal consistency over external consequences. This inner authority extends to his relationship with knowledge. The Sigma doesn't outsource truth verification to credentials, consensus, or authority figures. He develops first-hand understanding through direct engagement with information, creating knowledge that's experientially grounded rather than socially referenced. Building inner authority isn't about rejecting all external input, it's about processing that input through a proprietary evaluation system rather than accepting it on social authority alone. The Sigma advantage in modern society. The final piece of the Sigma framework reveals why this archetype is particularly advantageous in contemporary society. While the traditional alpha model optimized for hierarchical structures with clear power lines, the Sigma configuration is perfectly adapted to the network-based, fluid environments that characterize modern life. This advantage begins with the Sigma's relationship to institutional structures. In a world where organizations rise and fall with increasing speed, his independence from institutional validation creates remarkable adaptability. While others experience identity crises when organizations transform or dissolve, the Sigma maintains stable self-concept regardless of structural changes. The psychological mechanics behind this advantage involve his relationship to uncertainty. The Sigma has developed comfort with ambiguity that allows him to navigate transitional periods that paralyze others. In an era where stable career paths and predictable social scripts are disappearing, this tolerance for uncertainty translates directly to opportunity exploitation. Consider how this manifests in career trajectories. While traditional success models followed predictable vertical progression within single organizations, the Sigma often creates unconventional pathways that combine multiple domains of expertise. This cross-disciplinary versatility creates value precisely because it doesn't fit established categories. In social contexts, the Sigma advantage becomes apparent through his relationship to technological change. While others become psychologically dependent on digital validation systems, his self-referential framework remains unaffected by algorithmic approval metrics. This creates psychological stability regardless of platform changes or social media trends. The dangerous element here is that his advantage accelerates as institutional stability decreases. In periods of social cohesion and institutional trust, the traditional alpha approach still maintains effectiveness. But as systems become more fluid and unpredictable, the Sigma configuration provides increasing competitive advantage. A practical example: during organizational restructuring that creates anxiety and performance problems for most employees, the Sigma often identifies unprecedented opportunities in the chaos. This isn't opportunism, it's his freedom from institutional attachment that allows objective assessment of changing landscapes. This advantage extends beyond professional contexts into personal development. While conventional success models become obsolete with increasing speed, the Sigma's self-directed learning and adaptation systems allow continuous evolution without external curricular guidance. The Sigma advantage in modern society isn't about superiority to other archetypes. It's about optimal configuration for environments characterized by rapid change, institutional fragility, and unprecedented optionality. We've only scratched the surface of why Sigma males represent such a fascinating psychological archetype in today's social landscape. Their ability to operate without seeking validation creates a unique power dynamic that both attracts and unsettles those around them. As we've explored, the Sigma advantage begins with strategic solitude, but extends into every aspect of life, from personal relationships to professional advancement. What makes these men particularly dangerous, in the best sense of the word, is their immunity to social manipulation tactics that work on validation-seeking individuals. If you found value in these insights and want to master the psychological framework that allows Sigma males to navigate life on their own terms, subscribe to Official Sigma Male now. Our upcoming videos will delve even deeper into each aspect of the Sigma mindset, providing practical strategies you can implement immediately. Remember, understanding the Sigma male isn't about mimicking behaviors. It's about developing the internal framework that makes those behaviors authentic. Join our community of men committed to genuine self-development beyond social validation. Hit subscribe, activate notifications, and prepare to transform how you approach personal power.